Alrighty, what is up, guys? Tech Asian back here again. I've been slacking off a couple of days, but today we're back at it again. And there's a big title for today. We're cramming a lot of things together. So we got names, variables, code, and functions. So mainly today is introducing functions. So I've been mentioning functions throughout, and we don't know what they exactly do yet, right? So functions are going to do three things. They name the pieces of code and the way variable names, such as strings and numbers, do it. So like, if you wanted, instead of just saying one variable, a variable is like 1 to 1. So like, you're naming one variable to one thing, but a function, it can take like a whole thing and use it. So how do functions take argument? They take arguments the way we've been using scripts, taking argv, the argument variable, or whatever it's called. And then, so basically it's just like a compilation. So you can make a command in there, and then you can use it somewhere else. So you can define the function, and then you're going to use it somewhere else. So if you wanted to use it in like multiple parts of the code, you wouldn't have to keep on typing it out for every single one. You can just make one function and then reference it throughout your code. So we're going to get started right away and get a sense of how we're going to create a function in Python. And yeah, so let's open VS Code first. It's called first exercise. I'm going to create a new folder today. How about that? I've been saying we're going to get to it, so we're going to create a new folder today. And actually, we're going to create a whole new file. Let's do that. New file. Let's create a new file. Or not new file. Let's close this one. And let's open another one. So we can close the folder we have currently. And then we can do open folder. And then remember how we had this first exercise? We're going to create a new folder just in here because this is my Python folder, so it'll be easy to find if I need to look at it in the future. And then we're just going to call this functions. So yeah, so we're going to select this folder, open it up in VS Code, and let's get right to it. Let me put my computer into charge. We're running low on battery. And yes, let's get started. We're gonna open a new file inside this folder. So just click in here, open this new file. We're gonna call it functions_1.py. So there's going to be some comments, so we actually know what each code is going to do, and then we're going to go over it once we're done. So to keep this video short, I'm going to cut this I'm going to cut parts of this out so you won't have to look at it or like go over it. So just finished with that. So here's our code that we just did. So if you want to pause it and type it all out, go for it. But I'm just going to continue on just to keep this video short and not excessively long. You don't want to see me type every single thing. So the one thing I wanted to point out mainly while I was typing this is, here's the thing. If you're going to type a function, actually we're just going to go through this checklist afterwards about how to do functions and a checklist that you'd want to follow just to make sure you're typing everything right and all the functions are typed properly. So let's break down the first function then. So it says def is, you're defining the print_2, this star args, and then argument 1, argument 2 equals args. There should not be a comma there. Okay. So first, what we tell Python to make a function is obviously this new syntax we're saying. So def, that means you're defining something. It stands for define. And then after we define, we specify what the name of the function is. So in this case, it's print 2, there's print 2 again, print 1, print none. And then it doesn't matter what you call it, just make sure that it's a short name. It just tells you what it does. So you don't have to like read the rest of the code just to find out what this code is trying to do. Just keep the name simple and broad so you know what the code is doing. And then so we have the star or the asterisk args, which is a lot like the argv parameter, but it's for functions. So it has to go inside the parentheses to work as well. And then we end the line with these colons. So if you were to type this out, what you would see would be this indent would automatically start. So in order to specify a function and anything inside a function, it's gonna all indent a space, or it's technically 4 spaces, but it's gonna indent, and then you type whatever you want in the function. And then when you're finished with the function and you want to start like a new line or a new function per se, you unindent, and it's basically you just click this backspace a couple times, and it's called unindenting. And then, so yeah, to demonstrate how it works, we print these arguments out. So like we're printing it out, or else we wouldn't know what actually happens. And then one thing we can notice right here is we see that we can specify the arg1 and arg12 equals args. That's how we do like the argument. Remember how we did script, comma, whatever, blah blah blah, like script, and then you specify like a variable 1, and then you say equals argv, but you would have to import, remember, like from system import blah 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 argv. So let's get rid of this. Don't need that. But instead of having to do this for this args, we can do it in this like second part right here. So this is just faster. So instead of just specifying, you just automatically specify whatever variables or parameters you want to fit in. So this wouldn't work. You would have to do it like this right here. So arg1 comma arg2, and that would be the variables you would want to use inside there, or the arguments. So it might not make a lot of sense. We're going to do some different exercises, but let's see what else happens down here. So we're going to print _2. So we're going to print this function, and basically, or we're going to run this function, because it's not printing, it's running this function. And then we specify the two arguments in there. So it's going to take 2 arguments, and we're saying it's Z and Shaw. And then this print 1 takes 1 function. We're specifying that arg1 is going to be a string, and in this case it's going to be first. And then print none, it's taking no arguments, so it's not going to print anything in there. Or well, it's just going to print this, but there doesn't need to be, it's not taking anything, it's just going to print the one below. Because this one, it's obviously taking 1 argument, and then it's say arg1, and then whatever this debugging format character you'd put it in. So let's run this. Let's just debug this, and let's see what happens. So since we don't need to specify specify what we're trying to input, like how we had to put script, we had to put in a specific variable. In this case, we can just print them down here. We're just calling these, so we don't need to actually type like the Python file name for the script and then specify a variable. So yeah, so we're specifying 2 Z Shaws, and it's just going to take it in here. This one works, but it doesn't, you don't really need this to work. So this first one, you're just wasting time trying to type this second line in. Instead, just move this arg1, arg2 up into the first category. So yeah, and we're gonna go back to the slides presentation, and so this is gonna be our checklist on what if you're getting errors. This is the way to make sure what you were doing is correct and everything else. So the first part we're gonna want is we're gonna need a definition, your function definition. So whenever you start a function, remember it's df, so you're defining it. So you're gonna df, and then right after you're gonna specify the function name. And remember, it's gonna be as like everything in Python and different things when you're naming something. You can't use spaces. The code doesn't know to put them all together, so you're gonna want to use the underscore for spaces, and remember only characters. And then remember, make sure it makes sense, and then you start with an open parentheses, specify what arguments you want it to take, and then you close the parentheses. So don't duplicate names in the don't duplicate names throughout, because that would cause different errors. And make sure each argument is unique, because if it's not going to take the same argument, then why would you name it the same thing? Because that would mess the code up. You close the parentheses, start the colon. Code should automatically indent, especially in VS Code. It automatically indents for you. If you don't, if it doesn't, remember 4 spaces, or I think I might be wrong, but tab should work as well. And then you can end the function by going back, clicking the backspace, or also known as unindenting, and starting to write another function or whatever you want in your code. And then furthermore, when you're running it, you can use the run function by typing its name. You can put values in parentheses separated by commas for what you want to specify the function values to be, the argument values. So yeah, just to show you guys these the indenting and how it works. So you see, if I keep on pressing, it's just going to keep on being indented. So you're going to want to click the backspace, and then if you click define something, so we're going to define print none again. And then if you, as soon as this is colonized, or you put a colon, you click enter, and bam, it automatically indents for you. And then you just type some random things. And yeah, tabbing does work. It keeps it. 4 spaces also works, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 4 spaces also works. So yeah, there you go. That's all for today. But yeah, tomorrow we're gonna get into more in depth about how we're gonna use functions and different ways to do them. Right now, this is just an intro to functions and how we're gonna define them, and we're gonna refer back to that checklist every time. So that's all for today, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.